Scott, you look good tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome to the Reckoning Brothers podcast. Podcast. Did I say podcast? Reckoning Brothers podcast evening drinks edition. I'm Scott. What's up, guys?
You took incredibly long to say.
He had like 20.
He's drinking wine. Look at that.
He had edibles.
With some red wine?
It's his red wine. I have not taken any edibles, but I did decide I'm going to take 10 milligrams of edibles tonight instead of 5. So I'm looking forward to the adventure because it's usually 5. So it's going to be a whole ass thing. I will let you guys know. I will text you updates on how I'm feeling. So you guys will be along for the trip. I'm looking forward to it.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we're looking forward to it as well.
Tonight,
he does look good.
Scott, you're so hot.
Stop it.
He's got a new haircut. I commented on that last week. It looks good.
Scott, you're so hot. Hot sauce puts you on his chicken wings.
Jesus Christ.
He's doing a Gutfeld thing.
Yeah, I knew this whole time us doing this was just auditions for Mark to get on Fox News somehow.
Oh, but absolutely.
I assumed that the whole thing, that was his whole motive the entire time.
I want to get on Fox and Friends.
I think you'd be good on it. Yeah. You would definitely be better than their worst person. I could say that 100%. So that means that you'd be worth being on there. You'd probably be their top 190 or so.
I don't know why you hurt me like that, Scott.
I said top 190.
I've never done anything to your people. Never.
That's huge. That's huge. When's the last time you ate a matzo ball? Show my people some respect.
The last time I was in New York, that's a matzo ball soup.
They're not very good. I've had it once. It's fucking awful. Anyways, preamble aside, Mark, you wanted to talk about something because something happened.
I wanted to talk about George Foreman. I wanted to make a little tribute to George Foreman. Here's to the great George Foreman.
Cheers to George Foreman.
Cheers to George Foreman. Rest in peace, brother.
Sure loved his grill.
His grill was amazing, dude. That got me through college. It was ramen and JTM frozen burgers on his grill. That's what got me through college, man. Peace to George Foreman.
It out like properly. It was nice. And you got the little grease trap, and you just throw it away.
You guys are making me feel guilty that I never had a George Foreman.
You never had
a George Foreman. I love George Foreman. I love George Foreman more than you guys do. Duh, Ashley.
I don't know. We really liked his grill.
What's your favorite George Foreman boxing moment?
My favorite, I'll give you my first George Foreman boxing moment.
Please.
Back in the day, to watch a heavyweight fight, a heavyweight championship fight, there was no internet, etc. So you had to, and the fighters needed to make money, right? And so these were big ticket events.
So they didn't broadcast on Netflix?
They didn't even broadcast on the networks. Like, to watch the fight, 90% of the American public saw George Foreman, the George Foreman fights, the early years before HBO, on ABC News, on ABC Wide World of Sports, like a month after the fight happened, unless you went to the closed circuit television event at a place called Hera Arena or...
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So you actually would go to Hera Arena and they would broadcast it and you'd watch it on a big TV?
It'd be a closed circuit TV. They'd charge like 10 or 15 bucks, 20 bucks.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So it was like super pay-per-view.
It was literally arena pay-per-view. Huh. Places like Madison Square Garden would show fights like that on, well, I take that back. Madison Square Garden is where they would hold fights like, the Ali Frazier fights, et cetera, the iconic fights of the 70s, and
But they also did one.
Right, but normal sized towns, the only way you got to see a fight, like the Rumble in the Jungle, was to pay for it at a place like Hera Arena. Yeah, literally.
So what was your first experience then?
My first thing, so I knew who he was. I'd watched him on, I'd watched him in this. I was a little boy, but I watched him in the '68 Olympics, and he stood out in the '68 Olympics because it was 68 was a really tumultuous year in the United States, Vietnam, etc. A lot of division, and a lot of athletes weren't proud of being Americans because of Vietnam, and George grabbed the American flag and held it up and said, like in a display of I'm proud of my country. I love my country. Um, even though the humble background that he came from, right, and the hardships that he had, he still loved his country. But so my first experience, close up experience with George Foreman, was the Rumble in the Jungle, 1974. I'm 14 years old. I'm about to be 15. I'm 14 years old. I'm rust-proofing cars after school, rust-proofing cars after school, every day after school, and full time in the summer, playing music, etc. I had my own money. I had my own money. $150 in 1974 was a lot of money. I bet 150 bucks on George Foreman to win the fight against Muhammad Ali. Ali was an 8-1 underdog.
Really?
An 8-1, yeah, an 8-1 underdog.
8-1?
8-1.
That's crazy.
Well, Foreman had wiped out the entire heavyweight division, right? He'd wiped out Frazier, he wiped out Kenny Norton, he wiped out George Chuvalo, he wiped out he murdered the entire heavyweight division, and and the way he beat Frazier, as badly as he beat Frazier, who hit like a freight train. People thought, Ali's 34, 35 now. He's not in his prime anymore. He's going to get killed. We thought George Foreman was going to kill Muhammad Ali. And of course, Ali won that fight.
Hindsight,
Ali was, Ali, and George Foreman. The thing I love the most about George Foreman, the two careers, the two sides of the brooding, brutal, angry George Foreman of the 70s, and then he gets humiliated in the ring by Muhammad Ali. He gets humiliated in the ring. I forget who he lost another fight to. And then his faith, right? He decides to become a minister. He decides to become a preacher. And he let all the built up hate and anger and stuff that he'd had, with the life that he grew up under, and became and had this sort of he had a new life, right? I don't want to get all religious and stuff about it, but and then he comes back, and I was 14 years old when he lost the heavyweight championship, and I saw him lose it. And then in 1994, when he wins the heavyweight championship again, I was almost 50 years old. Let's stop and think about it. No, not almost 50. How old am I, Josh? What year was I born?
I don't know. 59?
So, how old was I? Scotty?
You're probably in your 30s, man. I think you're selling yourself a little short on your age there.
I was 70 years old.
I was talking to my son on the way before Mark got here, and he said, I was asking him if he wanted to join us down here, and he goes, "No, I don't want to listen to some middle-aged man talk about politics and stuff like that."
And he was right. He made the right call. Yeah,
he
did.
But I said, "Mark's not middle-aged." I said, "Me and Scott are." He goes, "Oh yeah, Mark pre-ordered the Bible."
You taught your son some great sass mouth.
He said that about his dad. He didn't say it about me. Did he say it about me?
Yes.
Oh, I thought when you told me the story, he was saying it about you.
No, you.
I am glad that you didn't invite your son down here, because I prepared a list of 4 questions, and one of them is not appropriate for anybody under the age of 45. So,
I'm going to say bye.
One last word about George Foreman, and then you can go to those questions.
And you're going to say bye. Go ahead.
So I was watching an ESPN special one time, years ago, and staying on the subject of George Foreman, and because of his movie roles as Rocky, he spent a lot of time in the ring and did a lot of boxing training. And one of the people that he trained with was George Foreman. And I think they interviewed him after the Michael Moorer fight, when he wins the heavyweight championship at age 45. At age 45, right? 20 years after he'd been he, been the heavyweight champion of the world 20 years, right? Which is just in boxing is unthinkable, right? It's mind boggling. And so they're talking to Stallone. And he's like, and they're talking to somebody else. And I can't remember if it was the other guy on the broadcast or whether it was Stallone. They're talking about how the Moorer fight was a 10-round fight, and he loses, and George loses like every minute, every round of this fight, and like after the fight, um, and winning it by a knockout in the 10th round. And one of the reporters goes, George, you were losing like every minute of every round of this fight. And Foreman goes, yeah, right up until the time when I knocked him out. Right?
Classic.
And so Stallone's talking about it. He goes, yeah, man, George is like he's like a spider. He's weaving his web. And he's like, come here, Michael. Get a little bit closer, Michael. Come on into my web, Michael. Right? And he's talking about like Foreman, laid this trap, right? Where he gets the shit knocked out of him for 9 full rounds, part of the 10th round, until Moorer feels so confident that he gets this close to George, and George drills him with a short right on the button and knocks his ass out. And then they asked Stallone what it was. They're like, what was it like to get hit by George Foreman? And Stallone goes, so this is a railroad tie, and I'm holding it like this, like a hammer. Getting hit by George Foreman is like getting bashed in the head with a railroad tie.
I love that story, and I also love the fact that Mark does not understand the concept of a lavalier microphone. Just holding that out there. I love it. It broke the mold.
I feel like it's a fribble, and
A tribble?
a tribble, yeah.
Dude, Star Trek reference, man. Awesome. Awesome. What the one more thing I like about George Foreman before you drop it, he named all his kids George, which I think is pretty freaking amazing. All of his kids are George. That's just cool.
And my favorite George Foreman quote is, my kids think growing up in hardship is having one phone in the house.
Different times, man. Different times. Speaking of different times, remember the hipsters?
Yes.
Whatever happened to them? Where did they go? What did they become? And what replaced them? I have my theories, but I want to know what you guys think.
Where did the hipsters go?
I mean, they're still around. We live in an area which I'm sure you're well familiar with, Yellow Springs. They're there.
Okay. I think that there's probably some hipsters in Yellow Springs.
You're conflating hippies with hipsters.
You might be a little bit.
Scott, please tell this gentleman the difference between a hippie and a hipster.
So a hipster would wear a flannel shirt, have a big beard, and brew their own beer. And they dress semi-homeless. Well, actually, the hippies do that. You know what? There's some crossover there. There is definitely some crossover between hipster and hippie. I'm thinking hipsters, early 2000 flannel, brew your own beer types.
No, I think of hipsters as the guys that go to the seafood saloon with their significant other, wife that they're not married to, and they're 42 years old, and they have a beard, and they have boots on, and they may have a couple of tattoos, and they drink those goddamn
IPAs. They drink fucking IPAs.
Right? And they order appetizers for dinner, and they think they're cool, and they look down on like my vision of the hippies are like, the peace and love crowd from fucking Woodstock.
Yeah, that's not a hipster.
I think you're conflating hipsters with white trash.
I was wrong about what a hipster is.
No, I think Mark's probably dead on with what a hipster is. They don't like things that are popular and cool, or they don't like things that are popular. They think that they're uncool, like a movie that everybody loves or a song that everybody loves. They wouldn't be caught down
We're just
listening
used
to.
to it now, so it doesn't phase us anymore. And I'm not drinking out of that bottle anymore.
Just drink out of it, man. Do it right now. Come on. Don't be a bitch. Don't just
No, thank you.
swig it right from the mouth. But
I brushed my teeth before I came here.
I was just trying to think of what are the hipsters now? Like I don't see them around. I don't know what people that age what they are. Are they just like political extremists or online keyboard warriors? It seems like they kind of just became that.
Maybe the hipsters.
I'm sorry.
Maybe the hipsters have grown up a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably it. Just like the
Well,
goths.
I have a theory that just dawned on me.
Please.
I think that they're too. I think that they're not insane enough to be out, setting Teslas on fire or marching with Hamas supporters in New York, but they're not. But they're also not, activist right enough to be like, MAGA.
True. They're just kind of finding their own lane, watching cooking videos.
So now they're in the shadows because
They're just waiting to watch the world burn.
they're
Yeah,
hiding in the shadows. They're
could
hiding
be.
from ICE.
Could be they're just struck by nihilism like the rest of us, or at least
What's
me.
your theory, Scott? Where are they?
That they kind of just warped into keyboard warriors, or they kind of became like the goth did. They just kind of grew up, like you said. But what's replacing them now, what I don't like, is political extremists and keyboard warriors. I think that's what people that were our age that became hipsters in the early 2000s equivalent now are probably just online and they're shouting into the void with keyboard warrior stuff.
Scott, were you a hipster?
I had hipster adjacent tendencies.
He did.
I had hipster adjacent tendencies, but I didn't go the whole nine.
He
I didn't
didn't
go
do the beard thing and he didn't do the tattoo thing.
Oh, I had a goatee that looked awful before I moved out here to LA. It was the worst facial hair piece anyone's ever. You know what? I'll try to find a picture and I'm put it up right now. And I'm sorry for everybody that has to see that. Thank you guys for your input. Next question.
Shoot.
What do you think the most dangerous idea on the American political right is right now? I would also say worst idea if you prefer that way of phrasing.
The worst idea on the political right.
I think. Do you want to go?
No, I think I know the answer to this. I think the worst idea on the political right now is
Mine's deportation.
shut up. Shut your fucking bitch ass mouth. Why is that wrong?
There's a lot of people that have been here for a very long time.
That's not the ones that are getting deported. Back
There
up.
was a Southern California family that they've been in the country for 35 years and they got deported last week. Now let me just their MS-13 is here. Whatever. Get rid of them. Yes. There is I think it's not done surgically where it needs to be. I think it's a broad spectrum and just everybody get out. And that's damaging to our economy. And that
Why is it damaging to the economy?
Who does the DoorDash?
Oh. So as long as we have
Who does the tomato picking?
So you want a permanent underclass labor?
Yeah, he's going to bring up the slavery stuff. I know he's going to do it. He's going to talk about slavery, modern day slavery.
That structure is embedded. So what's going to happen? There's going to be
look.
And I wouldn't call it an underclass.
Oh, I would.
Slave class?
I would. You know why I would call it an underclass? You guys want me to rant? I'll fucking rant.
No, here he goes.
Fuck up. We have 13 different categories.
You didn't answer the question.
I'm going to. I'm trying to.
Let him respond to Josh first.
No, we have 13 or 14 separate categories of guest worker programs in this country where you can come here and do any kind of work, etc. Right? No. The reason why I don't agree with putting up with illegal aliens working in lower paying jobs without job protections is because if you're in the guest workers program, you have precisely the same rights that every other American worker has. So when I say I don't want a permanent exploited permanent underclass in this country, I'm being dead fucking serious. I do not think it's right to allow people to be here undocumented illegally, working in jobs where employers can take advantage of them, pay them half of what the normal wage is, give them no time off, no sick leave, no vacation time, no fucking nothing. And I think it's wrong, and I'm sick of it.
What about companies that offshore their IT department to India?
I don't like that either. No, I don't like it. So if you break down how many able-bodied males between the ages, I forget what the age group is, up to like 55 years old, like 28 to 54, like in your prime working years, there are tens of millions of men who've dropped out of the workforce, right? And when you import cheap labor, I'm done. Okay, all right. I want to be fair to you. You said a family in California got deported. They've been there for 30 years, etc. I want to address that too.
There's a right way and a wrong way. I will say that.
We're doing it the right way, and there's always going to be an exception somewhere, right? NBC News and ABC News and MSNBC and CNN are doing the sob stories now. They've all lined up to do the sob stories. Like we deported the 250 Venezuelan gang members, Trinidad. Like there's like 3 or 4 people, right, that whose families have gone to the media with a lawyer and said, "Not my son. He's a good boy. Those tattoos aren't Trinidad." Now they may be right, but I think that you want a Star Trek reference? I'll give you a Star Trek reference. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Spock said that.
Their sob stories is they're doing the Doge stuff too. They're absolutely pulling all the stops.
Yeah, I know.
So here I'm going to circle back because Scott asked a question, I answered the question, you ranted on my response, and you need to answer the question.
What was the question?
What do you think the most dangerous idea on the American political right is today? Is it that they're too perfect? Because you're having a hard time coming up with an answer. They're just too perfect. Trump's just too good, and he should be elevated to God status.
Shut the fuck up, Scotty. I certainly do not believe that.
I know.
No. I mean,
I know.
I think worshiping politicians is gross. I spent too many years in politics. Yeah, no. And then like the whole gushing for Bernie tour right now is making me nauseous. Right? The guy got on. The reason why I had a difficult time answering your question is not because not because there aren't things. Yes. I just don't like. There's just so many more things from the left that aren't in the news right now and have been for so long.
There is, but it's fucking boring, man. Like the left they've overplayed their cards for 10 years. They just say the same dumb shit, and they've lost the general public. They won the educational institutions and stuff like that, but I'm more worried about Joe's six-pack believing dumb shit and being led around like they've got a leash around their fucking neck by anything that MAGA people want to do.
To answer your question, I think the most dangerous thing is to believe that tariffs are good in and of themselves. I believe tariffs are good.
Good one.
That's a very good answer.
I think tariffs are good for a negotiating tool. I think that all of these countries that have had 50 and 150 and 250% tariffs on our stuff, and we've done nothing. What does Trump say? Reciprocal, etc. And we've gone decades and decades and decades. He's right, as a matter of fact. Like every country does take advantage of us. We have almost in every case never imposed a reciprocal tariff on anything. Right? We let him get away with it, and he's sick of it, so he's imposing tariffs. And people are going, well, that's fine, and I'm happy with paying more for an American made product. Rah rah. That's all well and good. What I'm hoping happens is that the countries that have been taking advantage of us so what I'm hoping happens from, you know how like you, he will do something and or say something, and people will go, "That's crazy," and then a couple of weeks later, like somebody else is like doing it, like when he said rebuild Gaza, right? And then a couple of weeks later, the Arab
That
countries got
awesome AI video that unbelievably
right. Then a couple of weeks later, the Arab countries got together and went, "Yeah, well, we're going to rebuild Gaza." Like people started talking about it. Um,
Hmm.
with the tariff thing, yeah, I think people fall into the trap of thinking that tariffs in and of themselves are good. What I hope happens is that after we impose these tariffs, and yeah, maybe there's going to be some pain, but that the world will see this is a bad idea. Let's just get rid of them.
It's 100% a negotiating tactic. That's what I think.
it's just another tool
It's
in
a
the tool chest.
muscle. It's a
It's a
muscle thing.
it's a tool.
I'm doing it to you. Back off, and then it's settled. And
It's a
I
tool
really
in the tool chest. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. But there are second and third order consequences to everything. And macroeconomics is extremely fucking complex. So
yes.
there,
What's your answer, Scott, to this?
what the most dangerous idea is? I think it's just Trumpism. I think it's just simple MAGA hero worshiping bullshit. I think that's the worst part of what's on the right. I think they won, and they won for very good reasons, and they deserve to have a few weeks of celebration because the modern Democratic Party is the most pathetic organization that I've probably ever seen my entire life. The fact that they could not beat Trump, even though there was an easy roadmap to beat Trump, and they just didn't do it. I think that's so pathetic. It's unbelievable. But anyways, it puts everybody in this Trump camp, and people need to calm down. He's not perfect. Like the tariffs thing, this could be good, this could be bad. The world is not simple, it's extremely complex. And the little fucking Truth Social tweet shit that he puts out and just hanging on to every word is dangerous. We don't need to worship people. We're fucking Americans, dude. We should worship America in the fucking Constitution, and everybody has their chance, and then they get out of politics and we get somebody new in there. That's what the fucking system's based on. Also, the separation of powers. I don't see these MAGA people understanding the point of the three branches of government and all the shit we learned in fifth grade civics. I see this all over Twitter, and it's fucking embarrassing. And I think they need to fucking stop, calm down, epistemological reset, and understand what the government really is and why we have Supreme Court fighting executive branch. I mean, God, we really would love it if the fucking Congress would actually do something, but
That's
probably never going to happen.
But it's that, and it's like the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals judge overrules his immigration policies, and it doesn't work that way. It's the civic lesson that I'm referencing.
Yeah, but the bigger picture of they fight, and that's what they do. And that's business as usual. And it doesn't mean they're un-American evil people because they're on the different side of your political aisle and they believe they have more more lefty views than you. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them un-American.
You had 3 other questions?
I have another question here. I have 2 others, but let me. All right, this is this one. I'm really interested to see what you think because this is one of these questions that keeps me up at night. Would you rather have to suck the dick of a beautiful man, like really get into sucking a really good looking dude's dick for 5 minutes, and it's a good looking dick. It's not too big. You can get it in your mouth, and he's fully shaved and everything, right? And so it's 5 minutes of sucking this dude off, right? Or you get ass fucked by like a nasty dude for 10 minutes, but you don't have to pretend to be into it. You can just sit there and take it. And by the way, when you're sucking the dude's dick for the 5 minutes, you have to be into it. Like you're really getting into eye contact and the whole thing. right? So we got 5 minutes sucking the dick of a beautiful man, hairless, really into it, eye contact, sucking him off, balls and everything for 5 minutes, or you're just straight up getting ass fucked by a nasty dude for 10 minutes, but you don't have to pretend to be into it. You just have to take it. What would you rather do?
I choose not to participate. I have a 9mm, and I will take care of that.
That is not an option, Mark.
I didn't know up until this moment that you had an OnlyFans page.
I will be showcasing both of those scenarios on my OnlyFans page. You have to answer.
Oh, I mean, I definitely rather.
Yeah.
I have to say it, don't I?
Yep, you do.
I'd rather have it in my mouth.
All right, so option one, the beautiful man's dick. All right, Josh.
No.
He's
You
not
have
going
to
to.
answer the fucking question. Those are the fucking rules.
No.
Josh, answer the question. Answer it. All right. Well, for what it's worth, I agree with Mark.
I'm
The
not.
correct
I'm
answer.
not. I'm not putting that thing in my mouth. I'm not sticking that thing in my mouth.
The correct answer is option number one. All right. Do you want to call it, or do you want the last question?
Last question.
Last question.
Okay. Are you worried that if AI and robots take pretty much every job in the next 10 years, which very serious, very smart people think may very well happen, if not will probably happen, that Americans will have a crisis of meaning? Or will they be able to come up with another meaning besides work, keeping in mind not all cultures put value on work as much as Americans do? What would happen in that scenario?
No, I deeply, deeply, and profoundly want AI to be uh, extremely limited in what it's used for. I don't want it to be replacing jobs per se. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want it to be the objective of that. If I were the benevolent king, it would be used for medicine, surgery, research, finding cures for cancer, um, empirical analysis, empirical data analysis for humans to better understand things, scientific research to the extent that it tangibly helps the human experience. I do not want it taking over anything, and I don't think I don't think anybody else does either. Like do we really want AI to make it so that you don't have to? I mean, people don't get out of their chairs enough as it is, just because of this motherfucking thing.
It doesn't matter if you want it to or not. It's what's going to happen because it only makes the most sense business wise. Robots are already out there. They're about $100,000. Mercedes Benz and BMW is buying them to staff our factories. Within about 3 years, robots, humanoid robots like the fucking movies that can do everything and clean your house and all that shit will be available probably like $20,000 to
Elon
$30,000.
Musk says we're going to be able to buy Optimus for $30,000, and it's going to do all the chores.
And this is coming, whether we like it or not, or unless something unforeseen happens. But the question is, what do we do for meaning? Because the jobs aren't going to be there. We can not want it to happen all we want, but the jobs aren't going to be there.
Well,
God
What do
damn
we
it,
do for
Scott!
meaning?
Why you got to rain on my fucking parade?
I'm sorry, Mark, but I think you would be able to find meaning because you are already, doing things stuff like this, and you're all into politics and stuff like this. You, I think, would be easily able to find a meaning without a job, no problem. I think I would too. Maybe Josh and I, maybe doing what you do to a much lesser degree, but
You and Josh are going to have an OnlyFans page.
I already have the OnlyFans page. We just talked about the fucking question.
All right. So
We already know what's going to be on there. All right, Josh,
my
please.
answer. My job is 100% continuous improvement. What I feel like it is drifting towards is more and more AI integration and trying to reduce productivity hours and man hours per productive run. Uh, for every loss of man hour that we have and raise of production that we have, it's a good thing. So I feel like the more AI, the better in the manufacturing space. But
God damn you, Josh.
That's
Josh wants Skynet. He wants Skynet.
Dude, it's capitalism. It's gonna happen. This
Josh wants the destruction of human civilization.
no, I don't. Because let me just say one other thing. You know,
See how
with
emotional
with
he gets? Emotional.
I hate him. With my job, with a lot of things that I do, AI could eventually take it over.
And then your OnlyFans thing will all be AI. You won't have to really suck dick.
well, that's all going to be taken over too, because you're going to have unless there'll be a niche market for real people, but for the most part, AI is going to just make everybody's porn. This is what's going to happen. Like, I'm sorry, I can't believe I'm the one breaking the news to everybody here. I thought you guys knew this. I thought you thought about this.
I thought this was an intelligent conversation.
At my job, we're using AI in tactical intelligence. So I do see its usefulness. There's been a lot of tongue in cheek here. There's been a lot of tongue in cheek, and I can't stress enough how much tongue in cheek, like with regard to like the OnlyFans page
And some tongue on dick is when we go back to the would you rather question. Can you just end it by saying what do you think people are going to be able to find meaning? I know it's pretty deep and philosophical, but what pops into your head right away?
No, it scares me.
Okay. Josh, what do you think? What pops into your head right away?
I don't like the idea of regulating AI.
What?
You're not answering the question and you're bringing up a whole nother can of worms. I think we know what to talk about next
I
time.
don't like the idea of regulating innovation. You can't regulate what somebody thinks. And if they think that AI can perform this task and make it better than a human and save that productive time, then they're more power to them.
Don't you believe that with the capability that AI may have, that it has to be some oversight?
No.
This is
Josh
getting
is the
complicated. There has
devil.
to be
He's the
some
devil.
oversight.
He is the devil.
Josh,
Okay.
you
But
did not.
outside of thermonuclear war and Skynet and robots walking down the street with M60s,
The God evil
there's
spirit.
there doesn't need to be any
I
regulation.
cast him out.
You did not answer my question. Will people be able to find meaning because you don't have jobs? They're all replaced. An American person. Joseph.
No, they won't.
No.
It'll turn into Wally.
I
Never seen that movie.
I have disagree. I think that enough people will be able to find some meaning. I don't think that it's so inherent that job for a paycheck is what makes a person find meaning.
So are you thinking it'll go into a Star Trek kind of thing?
I was thinking it's going to get a rough road to quasi halfway the next generation kind of stuff.
Okay, but do we have to have World War III before that?
We don't have to have World War III. We just got to have a lot of fucking broke, sad people, a lot of deaths of despair, and a lot of trial and error before we figure it out.
And do we have to meet the Vulcans before this actually takes place?
That's a great question. Do we have to meet the Vulcans? I think the Vulcans are going to be like the Sikhs of northern India or some other culture that helps Americans through this. So
Before we close out everything, I just want to say that I want places like Wyoming and Montana and South Dakota and North Dakota and Idaho and the rural part of Washington State and Oregon and the northern part of California and Nebraska and
you're going to end this
and
at some
Kansas,
point, right?
Minnesota, South Dakota.
Corn County, Ohio.
Corn County, Ohio. I want those places to be. I would like for those places to be essentially the same. I want ranchers and farmers and fresh food and fresh beef, not lab grown meat. If AI works, well, if we're lucky enough in the scenario you paint, Scott, where AI doesn't make humans sedentary slaves to technology, then that would, I guess.
It's coming whether you like it or not, man. That's all. Just embrace the nihilism if you think it's going to be that bad. Any closing thoughts other than that?
Well, we opened up with George Foreman and how great everything was in the 70s, and then you guys came and took a gigantic steaming shit on the whole fucking planet with your AI stuff. I hate all of you.
Don't blame Josh. It was me. You guys can make up, and you can hate me until you forgive me in a couple days. All right.
I love you, Scott.
I love you guys too. Good night. Great talk.
See
Talk
ya.
to you next week.
Good night, Scott.